In the last 3 episodes of Timbuktu Tales, we narrated the tale of the Kishi, the double-headed monster who haunted villages and kidnapped girls. We narrated the epic tale of how the Kishi was finally defeated by the medium, as well as the aftermath of the never-dying evil hyena spirit. But what happened in the Middle Years, before the brutal clash between the Kishi and the medium? How did they both prepare for this epic final battle? And why were girls like Wairimu oblivious to the danger presented by the Kishi? Watch on to get the answers to these questions on a story inspired by the mythologies of the Ambundu people from Angola, the Kikuyu people from Kenya, and the Yoruba people from Nigeria. To enjoy more of such amazing stories from Africa, remember to subscribe to Timbuktu Tales.
In the village of Luanda, villagers were gathered in a tight circle around the young man on trial. He had defied the orders of the gods and now was brought forth before the medium to face justice.
Come here!
The soldiers grabbed and violently shoved him into the dusty ground. He kneeled and with pleading eyes, staring at the medium, begged for mercy. She did not respond. The medium, her body shrunk by age and trials, floated into the air. The people gasped and raised their eyes. The medium slowly floated further into the sky, staring down at the young man kneeling in the middle of the crowd. Some stared with open mouths, as some held their heads in their hands. A collective gasp ran throughout the crowd of Luanda villagers. Children grabbed onto their mothers' skirts as the sky rumbled around the medium. The sun was setting, casting her shadow large and long on the ground below. "Ah! The rumors are true!" A man was heard shouting from the center of the crowd. "I can't believe it!" A female voice emerged from another point, shouting that she always knew it, but no one had time to discuss the medium's abilities. All the people looked up in awe as the medium circled around the boy, with bits of lemongrass in her hands. She raised the pieces of lemongrass and waved them. Torrents of yellowish water emerged from the leaves and rained down on the young man on the ground. The moment the waters touched the young man, he let out a pain so sharp and painful, the entire crowd gasped in shock. The sky rumbled, the ground shook. Children clutched harder onto adults, others hiding their eyes beneath skirts, and some wailed in fear. The medium did not relent. She rained even more torrents of water on the man. The man cried so terribly that his mother rushed to his side, holding him close. The mother only got wet and felt nothing else. But the young man, pierced by invisible arrows, cried with every drop of water. She tried to massage his skin, perhaps to calm him down, but all was in vain. The grief-stricken mother begged the medium to stop, pleading for her son, but the medium, suspended high up, heard none of her cries. She rained on the waters and declared, "May this be a lesson to all that witness." When she finally descended to the ground, with the young man still agonizing in pain, the medium commanded the soldiers to escort him away. "Take him across the river to the lands of the evil spirits, to the edge of the evil forest," she said in a stern voice. "Make sure he goes to the forsaken lands. Dare not defile our soils with his blood." And so it was that the young man who had defied the gods was punished for it and banished from the village. As the soldiers grabbed and pulled him away from his mother, who was wailing loudly, and held onto her only son in a tight grip, the medium rushed to her hut on the opposite end of the village square. She approached the door, and there stood a cow-like animal with purple fur and long yellow horns that glowed brightly, even in the darkening day. The animal mowed loudly as the medium patted it on the head. The animal bent down, ready for her next command. "A great evil has risen. The monster of ancient prophecy has come of age. We must prepare," she muttered under her breath. Before she even concluded her speech, a long, mangled stick flew through the open door and landed upright next to her. The medium grabbed it with her right hand and chanted softly. Several pots floated from the shrine to nearby trees. Some pots contained a yellowish fluid that, despite the motion, did not spill. One large one contained lemongrass leaves, long and protruding from the top. The pots floated around the medium and she boarded the animal lying on the ground. The sun had set by now, far beneath the hills. The village was dark, and the crowd that had been gathered to witness the banishment of the young man had disappeared, each person back in their homes. The medium rode the animal all around the edge of the village, trailed by the floating pots. At each point where the animal knocked twice with its hooves, the medium alighted. She then picked a piece of lemongrass from the large pot, dipped it into the waters in one of the smaller pots, and planted it into the ground. She then whispered to it while tapping the ground with her staff, and instantly the plant grew to full size. That which shortly before was a single leaf bloomed into a large foliage that instantly spread roots that connected with the other newly planted lemongrasses. She went to every boundary point in the village. She rode the purple cow along the river. She trotted it up and down the hills. She went into the thick forest and into the dry plains. The medium even explored the caves, leaving no ground uncovered. By the end, as daybreak approached, the whole village was surrounded by a short hedge of interconnected lemongrasses. It was only then that the medium went back to the village and, tired, immediately went into her house, where she immediately fell into deep sleep. The sun rose high up into the sky. That morning the sun shone hotter than usual, scorching both the village and the lands beyond, across the forest, where the banished villager kept walking. The young man eventually walked into the forbidden lands, where he underwent a great transformation. Encountering the hyena spirit, he became the monster known as the Kishi, part human, part hyena. With his vow of revenge against the medium for banishing him, the Kishi vowed to head back to Luanda and get his revenge. As the hyena head spoke these words, they reverberated across the vastness of the forsaken lands. These words were carried across the forested lands by a secret charm etched deep inside the Kishi's own skin. The words were carried over the waters of the great river that separated Luanda from the rest of the world. The words flowed in like a fast wind over the moonlit village and entered the house of the medium, who was fast asleep. They eventually landed in the ears of the medium. The medium quickly woke up the moment she heard these words. She stood at the edge of the village, eyes yellow, and struck her staff on the ground. The ring of lemongrasses she had planted around Luanda glowed a fierce yellow, fiery, as she boldly stated, "I shall never allow it. That wretched witch," the Kishi would declare any time he made an attempt to approach the village. The moment he came within striking distance of the village, his skin started burning and peeling off. The lemongrasses around the village formed an extensive, impassable wall that ensured the Kishi could not come anywhere close to entering the village. After 3 attempts that all ended in great pain, the Kishi gave up. "I shall be back to get my revenge," he lamented after the final attempt had scorched and turned his skin red-grey. Defeated, he went further into the evil forest and disappeared. It is said the Kishi spent these many years roaming the world, gathering bad omens strong enough to combat the wall protecting Luanda. It is said that in one land, he acquired the green ashes of blindness, applying them on his body to hide his movements from the eyes that might seek to harm him. It is also said that in one of the lands he visited, he braved a torturous climb high up the unholy mountain. The Kishi finally collected a metallic basket, which contained a caged rat. This rat became his first of the many monstrous followers he acquired over the years. It is also said that he acquired a third omen, deep in the bottom of the ocean. But what it was, and exactly what it did, has long been forgotten. After those many, many years away, the Kishi had gathered enough omens to head back to Luanda. Now I shall get my revenge, he glared as he and his followers walked to the village. Generations were born and others died. The villagers who had witnessed the young man's expulsion, including his depressed mother, had died away. So had his brothers and friends. The young girls that had been so hopelessly in love with him ages ago, and what had been left of him in their minds, were distant memories that had died out as their time in the world ended. Yet successive generations of mediums never forgot about the Kishi. The medium was always ready. And although the village had expanded beyond the original boundaries and more people had moved in, the same as others had moved out. Time had changed things. Yet the lemongrass plantation always, magically, moved and spread out to form a larger layer of protection. But now the Kishi was also ready. He had spent months plotting how to get back to the village that chased him away. He promised his followers a huge feast of human flesh from their assault on Luanda. In preparation for this big day, he had gone days without food, saying, "I don't want to fill up my stomach too much. Better leave space for the best of them all." He made his final step on the night of the blood moon. An eclipse had covered the sun, and only its red edges provided a dim light to the world. Kishi and his followers walked on a hill overlooking the village. Every place he stepped onto, a small amount of smoke emerged from the ground. The land trembled in his presence. The double-headed monster walked on, both his human and hyena heads gleefully smiling at their impending victory. When he arrived a safe enough distance away from the village, his body covered with red ashes, the Kishi kneeled down. His hyena head stared down a termite mound and whispered some unrecognizable words. Then it took out a small gourd from its pocket and poured a red, frothy liquid into the hole. Immediately, billions of termites, all glowing bitter red like the moon high above them, rushed toward the village. The termites rushed toward one corner of the village and chewed and chewed and chewed the roots of lemongrasses. After a whole day of chewing, and with billions of them unalived in the process, the termites finally managed to uproot 3 of the plants. The eclipse was waning, the sun disk growing larger and larger. The Kishi stood in front of the gap left by the uprooted plants, staring straight ahead into the village. The termites had created a small passage, yet it was big enough to fit his evil intentions. Finally, the Kishi was back in Luanda. The monster glared its massive hyena teeth and let out a bone-chilling laughter. The monsters following him picked up his cue and laughed hysterically as they started walking into the village of Luanda.
Thanks for watching yet another episode of Timbuktu Tales. Like, share and subscribe to watch more of such amazing tales from Africa. Are there any stories you would like us to work on? Feel free to share your ideas in the comments section below. And hey, don't forget to hit that notification bell to always get updates.